A letter landed on Gianni Infantino's desk today, and the name at the bottom of it belongs to the most successful footballing nation in the history of the World Cup. Brazil have had enough. Not enough of losing, they won their match 3-0. Not enough of Vinicius Jr., he scored twice. What Brazil have had enough of is something far more serious, something that goes to the very heart of what this expanded, reimagined 48-nation World Cup was supposed to represent. And the document they have sent to FIFA's president, obtained today by the Brazilian newspaper Estadão, is unlike almost any formal complaint ever filed by a football federation at a World Cup, because it is not just a protest, it is a prosecution. Carefully argued, precisely evidenced, and armed with a witness that nobody saw coming. That witness is Lionel Messi. Stay with us, because this story begins in the 21st minute of a group stage match in Miami, and it ends in a place that could reshape refereeing at this entire tournament. The scene was Miami Stadium, Brazil versus Scotland, a match that Brazil needed only to avoid defeat to advance, but which they were winning comfortably when the moment that changed everything arrived. Vinicius Jr., already on the scoresheet, surged onto a loose ball, dispossessed Scotland's Jack Hendry with a physical but committed challenge, and finished with the composure that has made him one of the most feared forwards on the planet. A clean, clinical finish past goalkeeper Angus Gunn. Mexican referee Cesar Ramos raised his arm and pointed to the center circle. The goal stood, and then his earpiece crackled. The VAR team in the review center had flagged the buildup. Ramos was directed to the pitch-side monitor. He watched the replay. He reversed his own decision. The goal was overturned for a foul in the buildup. Vinicius's challenge on Hendry judged to have been illegal before he ever touched the ball. On the touchline, Ancelotti, 5-time Champions League winner, the most decorated manager in the history of the sport, turned away in disbelief. His coaching staff erupted. Brazil's players surrounded the referee in a wave of fury that took long minutes to subside. But here's the detail that the Brazilian Football Confederation placed at the very center of its formal complaint. The detail that, when you hear it, makes the entire controversy sharper and more difficult to dismiss. The CBF's argument rests on a specific and important threshold. VAR at this World Cup is not designed to correct every marginal or debatable call. It is designed by FIFA's own protocol only to intervene when a clear and obvious error has been made by the on-field referee. Not a borderline decision, not a matter of interpretation, a clear and obvious error. The CBF argues that the contact between Vinicius and Hendry did not remotely meet that standard, that Ramos made a correct initial decision, and that VAR should never have overturned it. Brazil's disallowed goal against Scotland in the 21st minute, the letter states directly, does not appear to be aligned with the philosophy adopted in this competition. That phrase, the philosophy adopted in this competition, is the door through which the CBF then walks their most extraordinary argument. Because to prove that VAR has not been applied consistently at this World Cup, they did not reach for a minor example from a match between two smaller nations. They reached for the biggest name in world football. Lionel Messi, Argentina, their greatest rival. In Argentina's second group match against Austria, the CBF's letter argues there was a moment that bears direct comparison to what happened in Miami. In the build-up to Messi's goal, midfielder Alexis McAllister made a physical challenge on Austria's Xaver Schlager, a challenge that, the CBF contends, was similar in nature and contact to the Vinicius challenge on Hendry. On that occasion, no foul was given. No VAR review followed. The goal stood. Messi's name went on the scoresheet. Brazil went to Argentina to make their case to FIFA. That is not frustration, that is strategy. The CBF is not asking FIFA to overturn the disallowed goal. It says so explicitly in the letter. Our main interest, the Federation wrote, is not to revisit individual decisions, but to ensure that the criteria governing VAR intervention are applied consistently, transparently, and equally to all teams throughout the tournament. That is the sentence that will echo in FIFA's corridors, because it is inarguable.
If the Messi example stands as described, and it is now on the formal record of this tournament, then Brazil have not simply complained, they have identified a double standard, and they have done it in writing. But the letter does not stop there, because for Brazil, this is not only about one disallowed goal in one match, this is also about a referee with a history. Cesar Arturo Ramos is a Mexican official, respected, experienced, and established at the highest level of the sport. But in Brazil's institutional memory, his name carries a specific weight. 8 years ago, at the 2018 World Cup in Russia, Ramos was the referee for Brazil's group stage match against Switzerland, a match that ended in a draw Brazil felt they had been denied. In its letter, the CBF cited that fixture as evidence of what it called a negative history with the official, alleging that a clear penalty was refused and that a foul in the build-up to the Swiss equalizer went uncalled. The federation's formal position is direct. Ramos should not have been appointed to referee a Brazil match at this World Cup, given that existing friction. And the CBF has made a specific, formal demand that Ramos be removed from any and all future Brazil assignments in North America, not rotated away, removed. That is a demand without modern precedent at a major tournament, a national federation publicly and formally asking FIFA to ban a specific referee from officiating their games. The institutional boldness of that request will be felt across the refereeing world for years.
FIFA has not yet responded. The organization has offered no public comment on the letter, no statement about the disallowed goal, and no indication of whether the appointment of Ramos will be reviewed. In the silence, the complaint sits, formally logged, publicly documented, impossible to quietly set aside. And the story carries its own particular irony. Brazil won the match anyway, 3-0. Vinicius Jr., the man at the center of the controversy, recovered from having his goal stolen to score again before the end. Matheus Cunha added a third to put the result beyond any doubt. Brazil topped Group C with authority and advanced to the round of 32, where they faced Japan in Houston. On the scoreboard, the disallowed goal changed nothing. Brazil are through. Their best players are performing. Carlo Ancelotti's team looks very much like one of the strongest in the tournament. But the CBF is sending a message that reaches beyond this match and beyond this round. A message that says, we are watching, we are documenting, we are comparing. And if the standards being applied to the rest of this tournament are not being applied equally to us, the world will know about it in precise and formal detail. There is a reason the most decorated nation in the history of this sport has never accepted officiating injustice quietly. Brazil has 5 World Cup titles, 5 golden trophies earned over 7 decades of extraordinary football. The Seleção carries that legacy onto the pitch in every single match, and with it, the absolute conviction that the game they love owes them nothing except fairness. That conviction is why the letter was written. That conviction is why Messi's name appears in it. And that conviction is why, whatever FIFA decides in response, this complaint will not simply fade from memory. Brazil are heading to Houston. Japan await. The knockout rounds are about to begin. And somewhere in FIFA headquarters, a letter is sitting on a desk, waiting for a reply.